Hey everyone, I'm Laura from Let New Adventures Begin, and this is my 7-year-old electric car. I've had the Nissan Leaf for about the last 3.5 years, and I bought it used with a little over 13,000 miles on it. Right now it is getting close to 50,000. We're at about 47,000 miles, and people keep asking me how the Leaf is doing, and this is the 3rd video that I've done. So if you're interested in the experience when I got the Leaf, I did a video when I had it for 1 year and then when I had it for 2 years. And right around the 2-year mark, I started to have some issues. We replaced the car battery inside because it wouldn't turn on one day. And I've done a few other things to it, but overall, one of my favorite things about having the Leaf is how low maintenance it is, because you don't have to do a lot of the normal things that you do with a traditional gas vehicle. You don't have to do oil changes, you don't have to change spark plugs and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a lower maintenance vehicle.
So don't let the weight of the world slow you down, and if you search for the meaning of life, it won't be found. So take your insecurities and leave them all behind. Let's learn to make the most of our time.
So people will often ask how much I have saved from having the electric car, and that's really not an easy question to answer, because where we plug the car in is a power tower. We live in a community that has modular houses and tiny homes, and we live in a tiny home, and our house is plugged into the power tower and my car is also plugged in there. So we just get one electric bill at the end of the month, and that includes all of the electricity we use to run the house as well as charging my car every night. And our electric bill overall for most months is probably around $100. It goes up a little bit more in the winter when we're running electric heaters here and there, and it goes up at the peak of the summer if we're running the air conditioner a little bit more. But overall, it's pretty much $100, give or take, every month for us to do all the things to run the tiny house and for me to do all of my driving with the car. So even though I can't give you a dollar amount, I can tell you that $100 a month is definitely less than I was spending just on gas for my old Subaru when I was driving that, and it's definitely less than what we put into the Jeep every month. Now, because this is a 2015, it was really very early on in the whole process of creating electric cars. So the battery life for my car is nowhere near as good as the new 2022 models and 23 models that are coming out. The reason that I ended up getting a used car was because it was in my budget, and I wasn't looking for an electric car. I was looking for a used car that was in a reasonable budget, and 3.5 years ago that was still a challenge, even though now that's even more challenging. But I ended up getting this car since it was in my budget, and most importantly, the range that it has was able to fit with my daily driving. I don't drive really long distances. I don't have a very long commute to work, and we live in an area where the stores and everything we need to get to they're pretty close. So my normal daily commute to work is about 13 miles each way, and then I'll usually go to the gym or to the store either on my way home or later in the evening. So the battery capacity of the Leaf is more than enough for that. And interestingly, we always used to use the Jeep, Patrick's car, for kind of our normal day-to-day driving. This was just my commuting car that I would use to get to and from work. But as gas prices have gone up, we have significantly shifted how much we use the Leaf. So if we are running somewhere and it's not too far, we pretty much always take the Leaf now, because we don't want to have to fill up the Jeep and spend money on gas. It is just about 3 days until the wedding, so today's our last day to run errands and pick things up. So we're taking the Leaf to go do some last minute things, mostly picking up stuff for the trip, We have to get dog food and pick up our new cooler. And we full charged the Leaf last night, so it's 100%. We're looking at about 83 miles, and we're getting close to 50,000. I'm at 47,596 today. We're back at the tiny house. We ran our first 2 errands. We're at 81%, and it looks like it's actually starting to rain a little bit. So we picked up a bunch of things for the trip. Our new cooler. Since we're going camping without the RV, we got a cooler so we can bring some fresh food. Oh, hello Redford. Hi Bob. And check out the stuff. And we got some of our camping food packed already, and here's the new tripod that we got for the trip. I also kind of use my car for storage sometimes. On the other side we have our life jackets so that when we go kayaking, I keep them in my car so they don't get wet when it rains, and they don't get spiders on them. Okay, let's bring all the stuff inside. I'll plug it in and we'll see how well it charges before we have to do our next errand. There we go. Charging. We got back from running errands around 2, and I plugged the car in, and it looks like it just hit a full charge. So let's go see how the battery is doing. It's about 4:30 right now. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Hi, do you want to come in? No, we're not going anywhere. It's okay. Silly Redford. Okay, you want to be in the video? Yes, you're in the video. Thank you. Alright, so let's see how the battery is doing. Oh, Mr. Redford, I have to close the door. Thank you. Watch out! Watch out, Red! Thank you! Okay. There we go. Okay, we are 100%. It is at about 88 miles capacity, which is about the highest that my car has really ever gone. I've seen it touch 90 a couple times if the weather was warmer. The temperature right now is about 76 degrees. So when it gets, I don't know, maybe above 60, that's really when you see the Leaf battery work the best, because I have the Lizard battery in this 7-year-old car. But what I want you to look at over here is what everyone asks about, is the battery life. So I just very recently noticed that this bar over here on the side does not go all the way up to the top. And I pulled out the owner's manual, and it says that that bar right there, number 2, is the lithium ion battery gauge, and it shows you the storage capacity. So I'm not sure when it happened. I went back and looked at my old videos, and in my old videos the battery was 100% healthy. It went all the way up to the top. So I think it was relatively recently, because I think it was maybe about 2 weeks that I kind of looked at it and I was like, that doesn't go all the way up to the top, and I feel like it should. So I think fairly recently the battery is no longer at 100% health, but 88 miles is really more than enough for me to be able to go to work and run my errands. So still a viable vehicle for me, thank goodness. We're at 47,609 miles as of today. Now, while I'm inside the vehicle, I'm just going to show you one of the things that I don't love about the Leaf, especially switching over from my Subaru, and it's the spot where the side curtain airbags are in. And this might not just be a thing for the Leaf, this might be a thing for any car that has a side curtain airbag, because this is very wide. And what I've noticed is that you have to be very careful when you are driving to move your head from side to side when you are going to make a turn, or if you are merging into traffic, or anything where you need to really make sure that there isn't something in your front blind spot. So what happens is the side curtain airbags are so wide that it creates this kind of front blind spot, or that's what I call it, where if there's a pedestrian standing at just the right angle and I turned my head and then glanced back, I would not see them. And that's happened to me a couple times. Or a car, if it's at just the right angle, I could turn my head and look and turn back and I wouldn't see the car because it was lined up with that. So what I figured out is that you really have to move your head from side to side when you turn to check if there's any obstacles in your path, just to make sure that you are not going to make a bad mistake. So that is my update of the 7-year-old electric car, and she's still going strong, and hopefully she will be for quite a long time to come. I will keep you updated on any new changes to the Nissan Leaf. I think the question that most people are wondering right now, especially if you are watching this video, is you're possibly thinking about going out to buy an electric vehicle, and whether or not that is a good financial decision is really going to depend on a lot of things. If you can find a good quality, low mileage used electric vehicle, it might work out well for you, like it's worked out pretty well for me. There's a few different considerations though, and one of them is how you're going to charge it. We did not have to do anything for me to be able to plug my car into the power tower because we live on a tiny house lot. If you live in a traditional house, you might have to have an electrician come in and create a charging station for you, depending on the type of vehicle that you get and the type of charging that it requires. So we really were lucky with that. It was just brought it home, plugged it in, and that was all we had to do. So there's really quite a few different financial considerations. A new electric vehicle with the better battery life is going to be quite a high dollar amount item, and especially if you're going to be financing something like that, you really have to sit down and do the math and figure out, is that going to be something that's worth it? I know that gas is really expensive right now, but buying a new vehicle is a huge expense. So really think about whether or not the financials of that are going to play out in the end in your favor, because having a car payment and getting a really expensive vehicle just to save a little bit of money on gas here and there might not actually be a very good decision for you. So really think that through. Think about how much driving you do, how much you would be spending on that vehicle, and what the payout would be for you in terms of charging with electricity versus filling up with gasoline. What I will say though is that most of the change that you are really trying to focus on when you get an electric vehicle is not just changing from using electricity versus using gas as a power source. Both of them are just using energy to create transportation. Even though the Leaf says 0 emissions on the side, there are still emissions created when electricity is produced. So don't think that electricity is this perfect solution, because it definitely is not. But it's really a matter of figuring out, is this going to be a good option for your lifestyle? Even though I was in a slight panic my first 2 weeks that I was driving the electric car and I was trying to get used to it, it did end up working out well for my lifestyle, and it did end up saving me money because I got it used at a good price, and because I don't have to drive really far distances, and my 15-year-old Subaru was costing me several $100s to repair on a almost monthly basis because something was always breaking on it. So it was really time for me to transition into a new vehicle, and it just so happened that I found this one, and it was the only used car in my budget. So that's really how I ended up with the electric car. It wasn't specifically something I was looking to do for any specific reason, but it has been something that I've enjoyed because it's a different experience for driving, and that's really what we like to do, is just work on things that give us different experiences. But let's go to the most important thing. Everyone wants to know about the battery and how the lithium battery is doing now that this car is 7 years old. One of the things that I really like about the Leaf, and I've actually gotten very accustomed to, is how fun it is to drive. It's just a very responsive vehicle. It takes some getting used to. When I first started driving a fully electric car, it takes a little getting used to. The way that the gas and the brake feel is slightly different, but the acceleration is very responsive, and you get used to that when you're driving it every day. You just get used to that. So I have to keep that in mind when I switch from driving my car to driving Patrick's Jeep. The Jeep still has to shift gears, and you feel a little bit more of that delay. It's also a heavier vehicle, but you definitely have to take that into consideration. Like when I'm merging into traffic, I have to give myself a little bit more time with the Jeep than I do with the Leaf, because the Leaf is just very responsive, and it is a very smooth ride because you don't feel anything shifting, which you kind of get used to if you've always driven a gas vehicle. Whether it's manual or automatic, there's always a little bit of jerkiness when the transmission is shifting. So with the Leaf, you don't have that at all. It's a very smooth ride. Now, smooth in terms of not feeling shifting, but we live on a dirt road, and there is a pretty significant difference when the Leaf is driving on the dirt road with all of its potholes and when the Jeep is driving on the dirt road. The Jeep gives you a smoother ride in terms of being on an uneven surface, where the Leaf doesn't really love it. It does fine, but you feel the bumps a little bit more. It's just not as smooth as the Jeep. But it's been interesting kind of experiencing the transition from a gas vehicle to an electric vehicle and what the driving experience is like.
We hope that you are enjoying this video from Let New Adventures Begin. If you'd like to support the growth of our channel, make sure that you are subscribed, hit the notification bell so you know as soon as we release new videos, and leave a thumbs up. You may also consider sharing this with someone else that you think might enjoy our videos. If you want to support our channel in another way, check out the links below for our Patreon and Amazon affiliate links. But most importantly, thank you for being here and sharing this journey with us. Now let's get back to the video.
What have I done in terms of maintenance to the car since I've had it in the past 3.5 years? I have put 4 new tires on it. We changed the wiper blades, we changed wiper fluid, just normal fluids, and we had to change the 12-volt battery because one day my car wouldn't start, and of course I panicked and thought that the lithium battery was shot. It was like my nightmare. But then we looked under the hood, which we had never done, and figured out that there's actually a 12-volt battery for the car to run the auxiliary systems, and that's what actually needed to be changed out. Once Patrick switched it, everything was good, and the Leaf was back into working order. So overall, pretty normal maintenance. The other thing that you have to do somewhat regularly is change the brake fluid. The user manual says to do it every 3,000 miles, but I know from reading forums, a lot of Leaf owners say that's debatable. But in the user manual, it says brake fluid every 3,000 miles. The other thing that I had done was the shocks. The rear shocks had to get replaced. I did that last fall, so probably about 8 months ago. And originally I was at the dealership probably 6 months before that, and they told me that the shocks were going and needed to be done. They quoted me at just under $1,000. It was like $900 and something to change the rear 2 shocks. And was horrified by that and decided not to do it. A couple months later, had it at my regular mechanic when he was doing the tires, and he said the same thing. The rear shocks were going and they needed to be replaced. So we ended up, I had my normal mechanic do it, and I think it was around the range of like $400, so much more manageable to get the rear shocks done. I was kind of surprised that the shocks went that quickly. It was one of those things where sort of questioning the longevity of the parts in the Leaf, because I know it was constructed for it to be lighter, because the lighter the vehicle, the better the battery is going to be able to drive distance. So they really focused on keeping this as light as possible. There's no spare tire in here because the spare tire would add weight, and that weight would decrease how far you can drive on a regular basis. So that's another consideration. If you ever get a flat tire, you don't have a spare that you can just change it to, you're going to have to get flat towed, which is a whole other thing with the Leaf. So I kind of question the parts that were used in the construction of the Leaf, especially because the shocks went bad before I even hit 50,000 miles. It was probably maybe like a year and a half ago that they really needed to be changed. So that doesn't show the best quality overall for the parts, but besides the shocks, there's really not been anything else major that I've had to fix. So follow the cord back to our power station. So the yellow one is the tiny house plug, and the gray one is the electric car plug. You can tell it's been here a little while. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video entertaining or informative in some way. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you go down and subscribe or leave a like. If you want to know more about our lifestyle of living in a 192 square foot tiny house on wheels, or traveling with our Scamp, backpacking, camping, all the different things that we do, make sure that you subscribe so that you can come along with us.
About you and me, the injustice, the next president to be, the news and what you hear, your career. It's time for you to face those fears, and it's all fair to be aware, and I'll be there. So don't be scared, just take a deep breath of air, and 1, 2, 3 to 10, you begin to focus again, and though time flies, we'll have enough to realize this bigger than the both of us.